Welcome to the Meydan Free Zone podcast, where we highlight pioneers across Dubai. Today we have an amazing guest, Bayzat, a company that is revolutionizing payroll, HR, and employee benefits, letting companies all across the UAE focus on what truly matters. I'll let my guests Daniel and Jason introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I manage partnerships for Bayzat, focusing on the partnership acquisition side. Just a bit of background on that. It became a strategy of ours at the start of the year to focus more on partnerships and primarily where we can add value in a particular area to improve and affect as many lives as possible through the partnership is something very exciting to us as well.
My name is Jason, and I'm the other side of the partnership here at Bayzat. So I'm the strategic partnership account manager here. Well, my main role is to help Daniel to make this a success. I'm the one that helps activate partners, making sure that we align on strategic initiatives. So this one, like Daniel was mentioning, is going to be a very exciting partnership with Meydan, where we can hopefully help businesses of any size.
Well, I'm very excited to have both of you here, and I wanted to get the ball rolling about discussing the HR landscape within the UAE and particularly in Dubai. All of us here know Dubai is increasingly growing in size and the employee base is getting larger and larger. So many companies are establishing here every day. And I wanted to get your insights on what you think the biggest challenges for any company existing and wishing to establish themselves here may face when considering HR, payroll struggles, things like that to improve their business once they decide to start the journey here.
Certainly for startups and SMEs, initially the challenges are pretty much all the same. It's getting used to the landscape of Dubai and everything that brings with it, right? In terms of compliance, the legalities around payroll, whatever it may be. That's certainly number one. And then you have companies with scaling comes its own problems. You have retention, you have acquisition of new employees to think about. And all of these come with their own challenges. And that's something that we're really trying to focus on when it comes to solutions for this particular market.
To add to that, number one, a new company could be one opening a branch here in the UAE, but they have headquarters outside, or it could be someone trying to establish himself here in the UAE as a fresh company. On both cases, they need expertise into what the UAE labor law requirements would be. They need help with, for example, payroll management. They need to understand what the time off policies are so that they can align it for their new joiners. And then, of course, you have employee retention, attendance tracking, and so on and so forth in this HR and payroll, I guess, ever-changing laws here. So that's what we're aiming to help people with.
Those are the main pain points that Bayzat always tries to aim and improve, or at least resolve for a lot of people that live here. Some people say that put client first, but reality is if your employees are dissatisfied, you're going to have a higher employee turnover. That's also costly. The time it takes to actually get in a new recruit, it's also going to take time. And I think just to manage the satisfaction levels of the internal company, the organizational culture, I think Bayzat does a wonderful job in trying to alleviate some of the things that should be already standardized and smooth flowing from the get-go when an employee starts or when a company starts.
100%. First of all, it's our mission. And if anybody's ever met with Bayzat at any point, you'd have had a small presentation at the start of that meeting where we force feed them our mission, which is to create a world-class employee experience and make that available to every company, no matter the size. And especially when we talk about size, I mean, I've worked in a company over in JLT. Being here, it's not a huge company. You have maybe, I think we had about 14 or 15 employees, but what you tend to get is, and bless her, it was a really hard job, but she was the office manager, she was the PA to a CEO, she was managing all of the leaves, everything. She was the go-to person for everything. And when you're trying to do that on a bunch of Excel files, that's really hard to do. Right. Just having to go back into that, make sure that if somebody is taking leave, that they're not overlapping with somebody else that needs to be there all the time, managing the flights of the CEO. That can be a nightmare. So automations become something almost necessary, right? Add payroll into that and you have pretty much a nightmare, especially if you're looking to scale that business into something that doubles the headcount, say. That's really where we come into our own, is creating the employee experience around that through self-service. But number two, increasing the efficiency and automation for people like my old office manager.
I also wanted to say a very critical part of what you're mentioning. I think a lot of people don't realize insurance is key when it comes to employees in the UAE. And at the end of the day, not only payroll, but making sure people are actually covered, because then you can get in trouble with different authorities. You have to be able to manage the finances. You have to be able to manage insurance, manage to see if payouts are being made, getting correct insurance providers, seeing what is on offer depending on the client, or at least the company and the size of the company. So automation, I think at the end of the day, is really important. And I just wanted you guys to maybe explain to our client base how Bayzat implements automation in the systems, what it does actually, because I can talk about automation, but the actual essence, I probably don't know, especially from an HR point of view. So can you tell us a bit about that?
It all goes back to employee management. I'll give you an example that you kind of just brought up, which is insurance management. And that's why Bayzat, other than just HR and payroll, has explored providing insurance to people. We're actually insurance brokerage as well, because we're lucky enough to work with every industry, and we understand that automation would look different to everyone. Some people need automations in their medical claims or their benefits, or they need a workflow for the approval processes of time off, attendance, or any of the other type of requests that an employee would have to do within their company. So automation will look different for everyone. But the nice thing about Bayzat is that we can configure our policies so that each specific company will have a system that works for them and specifically works for what their HR policies are.
And at the end of the day, I think as well, then Bayzat, willingly or unwillingly, actually becomes like a compliance manager for companies as well, because you have to make sure that everything they're doing is to standard, is abiding by all the legal requirements in the country. That also removes another stressor level for anyone that's wanting to implement some form of automation or HR and payroll assistance, and even insurance support when they're managing, whether it's a small team or even a very large team.
One thing to add is you could go on and on about compliancy here in the UAE, because you have everything from the payroll or end of service calculation, or even just the tracking of the specific documents that an employee would need. Because we don't think about it, but each and every one of us here in the UAE needs, for example, an Emirates ID, a passport, a visa. And then whenever you get into more industry-related documents, such as a medical license or driver's license, all these things are things that a company should specifically track for an employee, so that whenever those expiries roll around, your PRO, the HR manager, or even the employee themselves can stay up to date and make sure that the company or the employee is not breaching any regulations that they're not supposed to.
And that's why I think partnerships like this are so exciting, because as you mentioned, there's so many initial steps that need to be covered before we even get to the point of HR and insurance for an employee, right? So for example, with Meydan Free Zone, when you get all the compliance is already done as you're doing your application, right? And once you get that, you might need post and pre-approvals. But at the end of the day, the compliance is always there. It always comes down to establishing the basics, having all the legal requirements set up in stone, so that if there's something that is missing in that step, you're going to be worried about it, not only as a small business owner or a fully fledged corporation, but you can't even think about adding more people if the actual company isn't established correctly. And then once that is all set up, I think Bayzat is an incredible company to support that second phase of compliance and stability for any company wanting to scale up, or even just to support them at the beginning phases. And the good thing about it as well is that it is for any kind of company, whether it's a startup, SME, or a large corporation, or even some organization around the world. It just really does support that structure.
Dubai is an ever-changing landscape. And one of the things that we saw, I guess in the last couple of years, was this change to everybody being on a limited contract from before you could be unlimited or limited. And obviously that needs to reflect within an HRMS system for things like end of service calculations, right? So these are all important things that you need to be able to automate and have updated for you within a system. And that's where Bayzat had a hyper-localized approach. We're a UAE-based company for UAE companies. And that really does make a real difference to our clients.
In a way, although you service a lot of different companies and industries, you are very niche in the sense that you are supporting UAE businesses. It doesn't matter if they're foreign companies that have decided to establish themselves or fully fledged local companies. But at the end of the day, you have a very specific set of expertise that is really invaluable, because that means you're hyper-focused what you're delivering. Clients can trust that you're delivering what needs to be known for them, at least, or what they need to sort out from an individual level, a company level, and even from an HR or supportive level. So I think at the end of the day, the fact that you guys are focused on the UAE makes an immense amount of difference as well. This is the main responsibility. You're tracking changes. As you said, there's always new things coming up. So no matter what comes up, whether it's tomorrow, 2 days' time, next year, that will be fully integrated into the system, or at least acknowledged and facilitated through the system services.
Companies tend to use Bayzat for that exact reason. They want to make sure that they're 100% compliant with UAE labour law. And so we make sure that if there are any changes to the law, we update those within the system. And then it's about finding a balance, right? So we need to find a balance between, okay, there's common laws here in place, let's say around leave. Certain companies will want to go above and beyond the minimal laws might be around that. So then it's finding that balance between, okay, these are the laws, and having something that's configurable on the other side to allow for that. And we've put that in place for our clients as well.
You guys also have an incredible benefits side of the company. You guys facilitate employee benefits and support companies, at least give employee satisfaction, retention in that way as well. Can you tell us a bit about what this side of the business does and how it is important to focus on this as well from an organizational level, because it can support not only the employee well-being, but at the end of the day, will reduce costs because now you don't have a high turnover.
So I guess there's two sides to the employee benefits here on Bayzat. Number one was when Bayzat was establishing the HR and payroll side of things, we wanted to make sure that this is a system that's going to be used. It's going to have a lot of people accessing it on a day-to-day basis, and people are enjoying the fact that they're using this system. So the one way to do that is to make it sort of like a social media application, which is why we've done a few things on the app. Number one, on our newsfeed. So the very homepage of Bayzat, you have a newsfeed where you automatically can see people's work anniversaries and birthdays. You can interact with each other, like and comment. So this just creates a kind of company culture within the company. Then when you go over to our health section, this is where you're going to see the real benefits and perks for the employee. We have, of course, the name perks is going to be one of our features there, which will give you discounts across the UAE we're actually doing it through a partner of ours. So, it's been there for a long time.
I was about to say, oh my goodness, did we just find out a new secret?
We've had this established partnership for a long time where we have some key perks. So at any time they can go in, click one of the different offers that we have and avail the discount using the code. But more than that, when it comes to mental wellness, physical wellness, as well as just getting incentives to track your, let's say, fitness on Bayzat, we have our wellness hub is a place where you can, number one, track your steps and create a company kind of competition. So you can maybe align, for example, to the UAE where it's 30x30. And then by tracking your steps on Bayzat, you will then get rewards by spinning a wheel. And you can now avail them for any gift card in the UAE. We have a huge selection such as
Amazon vouchers. I love talking about this because it is one of my favorite things. Not only do you have the competition within the company, and this comes as part of the cost. We pay for this. Obviously, every company can add more to this if they want to. But yeah, just being able to meet with companies and say, hey, look, you can offer this now to your business. Not only are they going to be healthier because there's an incentive for them to be moving around a lot more, but they're rewarded for it with things like Amazon vouchers. Who doesn't love an Amazon voucher, right?
Especially in the GCC, everyone's using Amazon in some way or another.
Yeah, it's just a win for everybody. And that's what I really like about it.
And within that same page where you're now tracking your fitness, right under, you'll see that we also put an emphasis on mental wellness. This is going to be a place that's specific for the employee. So this information that you find here is just going to be confidential for the employee to use. They can use it to then take a survey about their own mental health, kind of see where they're standing. And then they can also book therapy appointments with our partnered therapists, which they'll get discounts on these therapy appointments because they're using it through Bayzat.
Oh, that's really exciting. I didn't know about that last feature. Well, I think as well, it's really important because at the end of the day, if a person hasn't come to Dubai, I mean, we three here know that Dubai is very high paced. It is very, very busy. It's very energetic. There's a lot of people that have so many ambitions that it kind of drives everyone to kind of be better every day. But I think with that comes sometimes burnout because you're always trying to work harder, see what you can get. It's a land of opportunity. But it sometimes does come at a cost personally because you don't know when you might want to put the limitation, especially when you're an SME or even just an entrepreneur or even just, a very happy employee. You want to deliver your best. You want to be in the company delivering the most value you can. And whether it's for just feeling happy within themselves or to get an award or some recognition or getting a promotion. A lot of us do have office-based jobs. Although there is a lot of hybrid and jobs that require a lot of movement, majority of us are in an office and we are sitting down. So adding elements where you can exercise or at least have incentives to physically move even after a long day, check on themselves individually for well-being and mental health, I think is an incredible addition, because it also brings back focus to themselves. They could become a bit more mindful. The organization becomes more mindful for their employees as well. And at the end of the day, like you said, it brings back health within the team, happiness, and it will increase productivity as well at the end of the day.
Having a system like Bayzat, which automates quite a lot of the work around HR, actually allows people within HR to focus on the things that they actually got into HR for in the first place, right? Which is focusing on their people. Anyone working in that space tends to have an awful lot of admin. And if we can just take some off of you and allow you to focus on the important things, which is more often than not your people. I'll take you on my journey of having used this particular feature within Bayzat. As part of our insurance side of what we do, also part of our platform on the enterprise side is a feature called Online Doctor. I'll tell you the whole thing. I'll try not to bore you with it. I was playing with my daughter in the garden one day, dewy, one of these misty mornings, dew on the floor, slippers on. There is no grip on slippers on grass, right? I fell over. My back, I could not move. My back was in a bad way. I knew I needed physiotherapy because it lasted a couple of days. Anyway, usually what would happen is you'd have to bring up the doctor, book an appointment, go to a GP, then they have to refer you to go and see a physiotherapist. That physiotherapist then says, yeah, okay, here's some medication, all of that. With Bayzat, all I had to do was click a button, Online Doctor. I was online with a doctor within 2 minutes and said, hey, look, I'm struggling here. It turns out I have a problem anyway with my L5 disc. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but yeah, I went online there, had that meeting with the doctor. They then gave me the referral I needed to a physiotherapist later that week. I could book that appointment through the hospital on the Bayzat platform as well. But they also prescribed me some painkillers, muscle relaxants as well, which again, we've got the online pharmacy, which meant I could just type in the e-prescription number. That was then delivered to me within about 45 minutes. So for someone with a bad back, it was incredible. I didn't have to move.
The biggest issue I find in Dubai when it comes to health is the common cold. People get sick, and you'll go to the office and you'll see everyone looking at you and it's like, oh my goodness, she just coughed or he just coughed. Don't look at me. I'm going to get sick. And then people end up all getting sick. And I think with solutions like this, they can immediately, oh, I'm feeling under the weather. It's on the system. I'm assuming if you're looking at a doctor and stuff, you can also automatically put on HR, on the portal there as well, to say, I need to go to see a doctor or the physiotherapist, or I need to take a half day directly. So I think that whole automation, or at least integration of those steps, might seemingly be separate, but they can all be put together at one point, which is also important because it also saves time. You don't need to come and now infect people maybe at the office, or you might not need to strain yourself no matter what injury you receive. So I think that's great.
One of those people you were talking about earlier where you need to be in a meeting in 2 minutes and you just need to get rid of that scratchy throat, for example. Just being able to do that really can make a difference. And then for larger companies, especially on the insurance, this is a really important point. At the end of a year, a larger company that isn't part of an SME plan, they get a claims report on the insurance at the end of the year, which shows all of the doctor appointments and the costs associated with those, etc. If every single person utilizing Bayzat's platform used the Online Doctor feature, that makes a considerable difference when it comes to that claims report. So going to a doctor here costs on average around 300 dirhams per consultation. Using the Online Doctor feature on Bayzat, zero. It removes that from the claims report. So that's 300 dirhams saved. And obviously your insurance company, whoever it might be, at the end of the year is going, okay, is this a company that's losing us money or are we making money here? If you're making the money, chances are that you're likely to get a rate pass, or, maybe there's some extra benefits that they'll throw in at the end of the year. If you're losing the money because everybody's going to the doctors at the end of the year, yeah, chances are your rates are going to go a bit higher. It actually becomes a cost saving tool as well as an employee experience tool as well.
I mean, I think it has the dual benefit, right? It's from the company side and also the employee side, which I think is great in the sense that it's improving productivity. Well-being is also prioritized. You can then focus, once that your employees are okay and that everything's going well for them and they feel satisfied as well, all your focus can be shifted to what actually matters, and it's to focus on the clients, deliver what you need to, whether you're providing a service or a product. I think then people can rest easy that Bayzat is solving all the other issues internally that may exist, and it's being done effectively.
You actually segued into one thing that we have not mentioned about Bayzat. It is improving productivity. Everything we've mentioned until now is helping with your administrative tasks, which in a way does help improve your productivity. But Bayzat has also built a tool that's integrated within each and every one of the features that we were just mentioning. And that's the Bayzat AI. This Bayzat AI is implemented, for example, within our insurance. You have an insurance AI assistant that at any time, if you are kind of like me, when you have no clue about anything about health, you don't even know how to describe it to yourself, you just go and message the AI in any language and mention, hey, I need to have an overnight stay at a hospital. What does my insurance cover? And then it will automatically scan your insurance policy and provide you with a response in the language that you're speaking to it in. And then you've now eliminated the task of having to sift through your network. Another example is we have an AI nutritionist. So within our benefits as well, you can now actually build a nutrition plan at any time based on what your diet goals are. I think the last use case of the Bayzat AI would be just to use it to help you make your job as an employee a bit more productive. Now, the Bayzat AI is essentially kind of like how you've used ChatGPT or Bard, where you can use this tool to scan your current documents. You'll have a document repository on Bayzat, and it can help you generate new content. So let's take an example. Let's say you're the channel manager at a company or a marketing manager at a company. You want to create a new blog post. All you need to do is go to the Bayzat AI and type, help me create this blog post based on the previous content that we've had on blog posts, but I want it for the specific use case. Now, the Bayzat AI has not only helped you with all your HR tasks, but it's also helping you with your day-to-day job and making sure that it aligns with what your company vision is and company policies are.
Even on the partnership side, I've had companies where they're looking to bring Bayzat on as part of their product suite. And I get asked a bunch of technical questions. I'm not the most technical person. It's like, what did you use to build the front end? What's the back end? I don't know. Again, just plug the email into the AI. It gives me all of the relevant information in the form of an email response to this person.
But the difference between Bayzat or let's say ChatGPT is that Bayzat will have permissions. Permissions mean to every space where you upload documents. Let's say you're creating a space, you're the payroll manager today, and you're putting some sensitive salary information there. You will limit the permissions so that people not only not be able to access that document/space, but they also will not be able to ask a question about the sensitive details within that document to the Bayzat AI. What this basically means is that each employee will use the AI tool to the extent of what they're allowed to do as that specific job or use case within the company.
To people that might not reside in the UAE at the moment, but the government is actively trying to implement AI across all industries within the UAE. And I mean, we see it, there's the talk of the flying cars, and there's other elements, not only from internal organizations with automations, like things like this, but also physical things that we can see. Now adding all of these other elements and technological advancements. And I think all of the implementations that Bayzat can be used in, especially the AI features, is in accordance with that trajectory where the UAE wants to go. And at the end of the day, sometimes people get worried as well about the role of AI in the ever-changing world, right? But I think the way Bayzat is using it is more as a supportive role, not necessarily to replace people that are working in HR and people that are necessary in that side of any organization, but also to just help support on all the nitty-gritty sides of the business when it comes to HR, payroll, insurance, anything else, or even personal matters of employees, so that the people that need to focus on that side of the company don't have to, oh, Daniel said he needed this, let me go sort this out. Now I have to put Jason's request on hold because of this. And it always backlogs something. So the fact that Bayzat has integrated AI seamlessly as well, and it's helping people resolve any issues, whether it's individual and organizational level, I think is great for any company of any size.
It's like you mentioned, seamless, right? You would go through the Bayzat application, and at any point in time, you would be able to see one way or another that the AI can help you. You could be creating a survey, and then suddenly you'll see assistance through AI. So now this AI is going to create the survey for you, but then you'll have a template from that survey, which you can then make your own edits, make it your own, and then put it out there. You can also have AI in your recruitment process because Bayzat does also have a dedicated application tracking system. And this system, you can use AI to, for example, generate a job description for you or parse a CV for you. So it's not only just a little assistant tool that follows you around, it's also a tool that's integrated within your little admin tasks throughout the day, which will make those steps that take maybe a couple of minutes or hours of brainstorming now done within a couple of seconds.
With that being said, I wanted to also now chat about, the Meydan Free Zone client base. When it comes to Meydan Free Zone, we have a lot of startups, SMEs as well. Of course, there are some larger companies, but from that perspective, a lot of startups and SMEs might not have the knowledge or any background really in HR, and they need to offload that or outsource it in a way or hire someone to do it internally. And sometimes that can be costly. I wanted you guys to explain to our audience what Bayzat can do if, let's say, I came and I said, I have no clue, I need someone to support me with at least the 2 people I've employed for payroll and get their insurance and sort it out. Let's say from that level to as we grow and scale up.
SMEs, I would say, is a large portion of Bayzat's client base, and that's for a good reason. Because you don't have to have, let's say, an HR manager in order to understand how to use this and use it effectively. Even people who are starting up a company, we've had people who are solo, just entrepreneurs who are going to take Bayzat to help them manage their own documents. Or, as you mentioned, if you have 2 employees under you, the main things that Bayzat does for you is, number one, consolidate your information into one area. You now have one tool for your employee management. It makes sure that you set the ground for the company that you want to build. So your vision for the future. You can take Bayzat, let's say today, for just 1 or 2 tasks, your payroll management and your records tracking. But then later on, as you grow, you now know that Bayzat will help you with your performance management later, or your recruitment later, or your attendance tracking once the employees grow to a certain size where you can't see every single one of them every day. Bayzat tool will be there for you.
What is the one feature that you would say, oh, Bayzat, this is what they deliver to you as you're in your scaling phase? And if you want to go from this amount of employees to now this, what would you say to any person that's considering using Bayzat? This is the element that they should look into when considering the company.
That's going to be difficult to answer because Bayzat has maybe 40, 50 different modules that you can use throughout, or at least modules within modules. I would say when a company scales, I typically see people come and tell us we need something for expense management, for example. Because in the beginning, you don't think about reimbursements for employees. Later on, as you scale as a company, people are going on more meetings, on more traveling, such as yourself yesterday. And then they need a way to reimburse it or at least put in that approval flow request. Yeah. So features like that, which I call the premium features, are things that people would go for. So expense management or integrations with other systems like an accounting system, if you want to integrate that with your payroll management, or surveys, performance management. All of these you'll not see a small company go for, but then later on as they scale, they'll realize very soon and very quickly that these are things that we need in place, or else our HR functions or our HR system is not that useful for us.
Just to add to that as well, I think it really does depend on the industry you're in as a business as well, because as you scale, certain industries have certain issues. It can be that you're a restaurant, for example, and you have different shifts. Obviously, within the Bayzat system, you might then benefit from having the shift scheduler, which automatically in return calculates things like overtime, right? Which again automates directly into payroll. Payroll is probably my answer to your question ultimately, because we've spoken with so many companies over the years that literally at the end of a month spend weeks going through payroll and making sure that everything's right when it comes to the amounts that they're paying employees, touching on expense management, but they might also have some policies and procedures around attendance, whatever it may be. So that's really where I think a scaling company would benefit from Bayzat. But again, that's just my personal answer. Depends.
Different business activities here. So, I mean, the opportunities and the possibilities are endless at the end of the day. But I did want to discuss something about Bayzat provides data-driven analytics as well. And I wanted you guys to explain as well how this part of Bayzat helps business leaders or CEOs, entrepreneurs make informed decision-making when whatever phase they are in as a company.
So when it comes to our data-driven analytics, I find from my different meetings I've had with a lot of different companies over the past 2 years that analytics is only useful for a person if it's customized to their needs. Because no one wants a report that's out of the box that they don't really care about. You want a report that you can put filters on and then download. This is what the Bayzat system can do for you. If you're looking at your attendance module, you can put your specific filters there so that you can get a nice report, understand the key functions so you can actually filter what columns will showcase on that page. And you can also download that on Excel at any time. This is true for a lot of other modules as well, such as payroll, time off. You'll always have a downloadable function there. But then post that, I think part of our analytics that helps with the business decisions is we can help customize reports for you. So on the payroll, you can make a payroll monthly report. So you understand the key functions of what's happening and how you're paying out and what you call it, receivable and payable.
Yep.
100%. So things like that, these key details that you would want to see as a business owner, we'd be able to customize those reports for you.
And your clients can also, at the end of the day, go then onto the AI tool. And if there's any shortcomings on the report, see how they can make solutions to
There are
them.
law changes, right? We saw Emersization come in fairly recently. And if you're a larger organization, it's not necessarily obvious how many Emiratis you have over as a ratio of your overall proportion of employees, right? Having the data in place to be able to say, okay, where are we? What do we need to do from here? Okay, maybe we need to hire somebody else to meet the certain quotas that the government have said we need to hit. What do we use then? AI infused ATS, applicant tracking system.
Compliance at the end of the day, worrying about all of the changes, worrying about also the employee concerns, worrying about meeting all of the requirements as a company to the government and also to their clients. It does become a lot of individual tasks to be managing. So it can amount, and you can miss easily. One small thing can make an insane difference, because if you forget to, or if you don't, for example, submit a report that's necessary to, let's say, the tax authority, as an example, let's say one thing got missed while you were doing your claims or anything like that, you can get fined. So to have a system that can support you in that, and then you can take a deep breath, oh my goodness, did I submit this on time, or did I do this correctly? Did I look at this correctly, or did I forget to do this? I think is really beneficial, cost effective as well, and time saving. And at the end of the day, like you said, enhancing productivity.
If you're still relying on systems like Excel, human error, it really comes into play.
Especially as your company grows.
Exactly that.
Because you can manage maybe 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 people when you're a startup. But as soon as you start hitting the double digits, maybe they forget to tell you. Maybe they use a company card for some expense and they forget to tell you. Then you have a problem there.
You can think about all of these different things. It's often the things that you haven't thought about that do become the problems in anyway. So yeah, just being, again, I come back to automation and compliance with this, having help on that front that isn't prone to human error is actually really important.
Let me shift the narrative there from not just the tech and compliance, but also Bayzat as a company. What's the difference? Why does only Bayzat give you that kind of guarantee? I'd say obviously every company is different, but with Bayzat, what's unique about us is we're also based here. And then every single client that comes in has a dedicated customer support manager. This is a huge requirement for a lot of people, because what you need at that point is, let's say there was an error, whether it was from themselves or something happened, they've inputted something wrong into the system.
Sometimes it's a glitch.
Could be. Anyone who's worked in tech as long as we have know that there's no software in the world that will be 100% right all the time.
Imagine when it comes to money.
When it comes to having a dedicated CS manager, and a lot of them are also based here in the UAE, so they'll be able to answer your phone call or your WhatsApp message or email and be there with you to configure your system, which is huge. Because even, let's say there wasn't an issue, let's say it was just an ever-changing law, because I think, I don't know if I'm taking my news from Love in Dubai, because I saw this yesterday, and what was unique about it was potentially there's a change in the law in the near future in the UAE because of the amount of traffic we're seeing, that we might be going into hybrid work for most companies, most private companies. If that were to happen, we don't expect that all Bayzat companies are going to be expert on Bayzat to change what their attendance policies are on the system. So that's why having a dedicated customer support manager that can go enter your system with you and change those configurations is really, really important.
You basically answered what was going to be my next question, which is how, as a company that is based in Dubai, what you guys do to innovate and, help support companies, and how you are essentially one of the industry leaders when it comes to HR management and things like that. But I think you answered that perfectly. There's a lot of different solutions that can be done. And as we discussed a bit earlier with the other questions and some of your answers, this is an ever-changing landscape. Every year, every day, it's growing and growing and growing. More people are coming. More people sometimes can be harder to manage. And as any company, from maybe crowdfunding days all the way to when it's now getting on the stock exchange, it is a journey that needs support. And it's not one that I think any company should go without someone that they can trust and rely on. And I think we're privileged to be able to now partner with Bayzat. And at the end of the day, I hope that our clients also not only understand the benefits, but see that you don't all have to do it alone. Because I think a lot of startup people, entrepreneurs, there's a tendency to think that I have to do it all. I need to save money. But in the essence, if you do one thing wrong, it ends up becoming $1 million or $100,000 or something like that in costs, whether it's in fines or loss in productivity or customer or even employee dissatisfaction. So I think the support mechanism that Bayzat has provided is something that people should take advantage of. And I'm really excited to see how you support not only Meydan's clients, but the future of Dubai employees.
From a partnership perspective, I love working with companies and being able to offer them as much value as possible and creating a world-class employee experience for everybody. And knowing that that's something that you're aiming to do as a free zone to all of the companies within it, it makes an awful lot of sense. So it's a pleasure to be here and be partnering with you.
And I'm very grateful for having you guys on the podcast and getting to discuss with you. I wanted just to conclude, is there something that is coming up for Bayzat that maybe people haven't heard or might not be privy to at the moment? Maybe it's been announced like the stuff you said earlier. But is there something that you would like our audience to know about, any future launches or something exciting that they should be looking forward to?
There's quite a few. I don't know what I'm exactly privileged to say, so I'll keep it safe. We've just released one of our newest modules, Accounts Payable, which will allow someone to actually manage their invoices through Bayzat. And also, it could potentially also help with salary transfers as well. Now, on the other side of it, I know that we've been mentioning AI a lot. We're continuing to enhance our AI. AI is the newest groundbreaking technology of the world. So we're looking at new ways where we can integrate AI into the modules that people wouldn't typically think would have AI. I think we're one of the earliest adopters of AI into our system, so we want to stay ahead of the game there. So I think those are two features which we can speak about. Anything else you want to add?
But I think you've underplayed our accounts payable solution. On the face of it, it's, managing invoices and pulling them in using OCR technology, having approval flows, really nice efficiency piece, but there is some magic behind it. So we have partnered with one of the biggest global payment providers, which means that any company that is making regular international transfers, whether that's to employees overseas, as Jason mentioned, or to vendors, perhaps, we can actually save them a considerable amount of money through very, very, very competitive foreign exchange rates on that, as well as much lower transaction fees. We've already seen a very strong, I'd say, demand for this particular product from our clients, because again, we spoke with them first, right? We know a lot of them have payroll that goes overseas. And I mean, interestingly, I met with one of the ex-head of commercial banking for one of the big banks here. Turns out 80% of his profits for the bank from business customers, 80% of those profits were from foreign exchange, FX rates and transaction fees. Being able to significantly lower that for the businesses using those and going outside of the banks and exchange houses for this actually starts making an awful lot of sense, especially when you can start saving companies, again, depending on the amount of transfers they do, in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases.
We're also in a very strategic location globally. Yeah. We have a diverse population within the country. So there are so many different people here that sometimes it's just them living here and their families live overseas. So remittances are really, really high. And so, when they're managing their payments or their salaries, things like that, it's not only what you were mentioning with FX or anything like that, but employees need to also figure out how to safely send their money across to wherever they are in the world.
It wouldn't be a B2C thing, so it wouldn't be something that we'd allow individuals.
The point I was trying to make, though, at the end of the day, is that even if it's not a B2C situation and it's more a B2B, if their employees are based outside, I mean, a lot of Dubai companies have companies where, for example, call centers might be in India or might have a branch in the UK, things like that, that can really streamline the support. So it might not be B2C, but even just to support all of the employees that they have on a global scale, that's also really beneficial.
I met with a mobile phone trading company, and you can imagine it's their core business. They had the iPhone coming out the week I met them, so they were incredibly busy. But even for like Samsung, in order to get Samsung phones here, you need to import them from career, that's a spend that you need to make on a fairly regular basis, right? Especially if you're good at what you do as a business. There's foreign exchange there. And if you're leaving a lot of money on the table, or just handing that money over to a bank or an exchange house, you may as well do what you can to keep some of that in your pocket, right?
It's been such a pleasure to have both of you on here. I'm very, very excited to see where the partnership goes, how clients can benefit from Bayzat. And like I said earlier, how people within the UAE can also benefit from all the services that Bayzat provides. Thank you so much for sharing the insights that you guys see also within the HR landscape here. And I hope at the end of the day that Bayzat continuously grows.
Any of Meydan's organizations that aren't currently on Bayzat yet and want to sign up with Bayzat, we'll offer 3 months absolutely free as part of the year-long subscription. So effectively an extra 25%.
To make that more formalized, yes, we are extending a offer for Meydan exclusive offer, Meydan Free Zone exclusive offer. So anyone that comes through the Meydan Free Zone who wants to sign up with Bayzat will get 3 months free added on to any contract they take from the Bayzat platform.
Well, that's very exciting. I wasn't even aware of this, but I think it's going to be such a very cost-effective and solution-driven partnership between you and any of the clients that come and establish their business. And I really hope that they reap the benefits that so many others here in the country are reaping from using your services. To our listeners, thank you so much for joining me on the Meydan Free Zone podcast and listening to our incredible guests, Jason and Daniel. I hope you guys understood and got meaningful insights from all of their talking points today, and that you take advantage of this exciting promotion that Bayzat is offering. As they said, 3 months free when you choose to open any kind of subscription with them. And it's only exclusive for Meydan Free Zone clients. So please don't miss out, and I will see you next time.